Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
Welcome back to Real Estate on the Rocks. This is Dave Snowberger here, joining the studio as always with my right-hand man, Marshall Tucker.
What's going on?
And we've got the guys on the ones and twos. The guys. We've got James.
What's going on?
James is here. James is here. All
Always.
right. So today we're going to dive a little. We're gonna go into. We've probably touched on this topic once, twice, 3 times, maybe 4 times over the past 75 or so episodes. But we just kind of want to clarify some things of why you lack leads, listing, money, and motivation. Does that sound like a good topic? Sounds like a great topic to me.
It's a good one.
It works.
It's a struggle for people.
It is a struggle for people. So really, what this is, it's all about what would you say? The follow up. You know, a lot of it has to do with the follow up. I would say
Fortune is in the follow-up.
Yeah, and I would just say that most realtors are terrible at lead follow up, asking for business, and setting appointments. I would say those are the 3 things that are detrimental to your business. That if you don't do all 3 of those and you don't do them all well, then you're going to have a problem with cash flow, with profit, with with having deals to work and keeping consistent and being able to scale your business. Would you agree?
I do.
Yep.
Cool. All right, well, let's get to it. Talk to me a little bit about that, Marshall. I know that you're pretty good at the lead follow-up game, but it took you a little while to get into the rhythm. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of times how I've talked to coaching clients, I've talked to realtors on our staff, not our staff, but our team. And typically, you know, they're good. I'm going to call somebody out that's in the room. Actually, James was really good at taking people's word, which is good quality. It's a good quality to take people at their word. However, you know, he just would stop at the first no. You know, and there was no real follow up. You know, and he would take them that, you know, if I'm not interested, whatever else. That makes me think of something the other day. What was that? Quote we read. It's like a sales call. You're calling to somebody, and they say, "I'm sorry, we're not interested." And well, of course, sir. If you were interested, you would have called me. And it's a great deflection. And you just keep talking. It's awesome, isn't it?
That's a good one.
It is. So, talk to me a little bit about that, Marshall. How did you get better at the lead follow-up, getting into gear, and just kind of realizing that, you know, you were burning leads at first 3-4 years ago by contacting them once and being done with them.
I think that what started happening was I started kind of cross-checking back and looking up leads that I had talked to before and finding out that they had already closed on their house. And it was like a gut punch. It's like, you already closed on your house? And kind of followed it up, realized that, you know, these people are talking to other realtors. They're not just signing up on your site. They're signing up on multiple sites. They got multiple people calling them all the time. So if you're not following up with them and keeping your name fresh in their head, you know, someone else is going to scoop them up and you're going to lose out on that. Started getting a little bit better about, you know, following up with them. Asking for the business doesn't come naturally. You know, you got to kind of think about it. And when you're talking with someone, like, how can I help this person, you know, as well, and then, you know, they'll naturally reciprocate and help you. Well, in the beginning, as a new agent, you're not really thinking that. You just, hi, do you know anyone that wants to buy, sell, or invest? You know, and people are like, you know, kind of avoid you like the TV guy up in the aisle at Walmart there. I always go around them when they look at me.
Yeah, and I think you got a little bit more purposeful as well as when we decided to go the route of specialist, right?
Right.
And so, you know, I see this all the time. I was speaking with a young lady yesterday, and I just kind of audited her Facebook and went over there, and you know, it says very clearly that so-and-so and she, you know, buyer, seller, investors is who she works with. And so she's working with all 3. And we talked about more about getting drilled down and knowing, you know, and I can certainly say that someone with, I could see that her license number was a little bit newer to the business, maybe less than a year, you know, and so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that
she's about 3 deals.
Probably got 3 deals, and none of them were more than likely with investors. And so working with investors, you know, I would eliminate that one right off the bat. Of course, you can work with investors. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. But drill it down a little bit more specific. And even just lose all 3 of those and just really drill down on the fact that you sell real estate, you know? And so leave it very vague to that. As vague as that is, I think it's more drilled down that I work with buyers, sellers, and investors, and I work commercial and I work
Right.
this and I work luxury and I work, first time homes and I do all these things. It's like you don't know what you do. You're taking anything, and so you're not drilled down. Once you're drilled down, I believe you can start being more more specific about your follow-up, right? So you know a little bit more about what you're talking about. You're following up with buyers that have a purpose, that reached out you to maybe through your website or
I think that's what you hit on a key point there, as far as the reluctance to call. If you don't know the process, or if you don't know how to solve their problem and carry them down the road, then you're reluctant to even call and talk to them and have that conversation.
Right. James over here always brings up a good point to where we're talking about being a little bit more drilled down for follow-up. But as a new agent, he reached out to a team leader, or he's reached out to brokers or whatever else, like, what do I do to get business? And they said, what do you? Just go make calls, right? They just weren't very
gen.
specific. Yeah, lead gen.
Yeah.
You need to be lead
super
gen.
frustrating. Actually, I was on a call with one of the agents from New York who you connected me with, and we were both laughing about that. And starting out, they're like, "Oh yeah, just get out there and lead gen." Okay, but do what? Like, how specifically am I getting these numbers? Am I talking to people? And they're like, "Well, we'll just pick something." Like, all right, cool, that helps.
Yeah, as a new agent, that wouldn't help. If someone told me at this year, at my stage of my career, to like drill down on something and pick one thing, I would know what to pick because I've done it. I know what works. I know what doesn't work. I know what. I think they all work if you drill down on them. I know which some of the avenues are a little bit easier than I mean, if you don't have the time and the patience to work 18 months in building a farm, don't do farming. Right?
Yeah.
Or don't rely on farming. You can't make that your number one thing. For 18 months, you'd go broke.
Yeah.
Right? So really it needs to be supplemental to your one thing. So I always like three, really kind of narrow it down to 3. Out of the 7 forms of lead generation, narrow it down to the 3. Yeah. Right? And be very proactive about what the number one's going to be. What does that look like? Marshall, what's your number 1?
First time home buyers? Or is that my niche?
It's not your niche at all. So what the hell are you saying? It's not your niche.
You caught me daydreaming.
It's not your specialty. Like, first-time home buyers aren't what you're good at. Working with buyers that are in the $300,000 to $500,000 range aren't necessarily first-time home buyers every time. I know some parts of the U.S. it is.
Yeah.
I think if we're in the Bay Area or
California.
Yeah, something like that. But certainly around here, we don't have a lot of first-time home buyers coming at $300,000 to $500,000 where you do specialize actually. So I don't know what the hell you're saying.
Because he was talking about that. Because he was talking. I know exactly what that came from. Because the ads he was working on is first-time home buyer programs and information about that, so he can get those out, so he can target that group because he wanted to market towards them. Right. I know exactly where that came from.
I mean, that's
a reflex answer. That's awesome.
Because it's a little bit later in the afternoon, even though this episode usually gets released early in the morning.
Yep.
If James does what he's supposed to do.
Got the magic touch.
It's a little bit late in the afternoon, and so after lunch, usually none of us are really on point to answer all these questions. However, moving on. So what did you, James, now that you've been with us for about a year or so, you came in kind of doing the same thing, and these are conversations we had. You said, Dave, don't tell me to lead gen, please. I know to lead gen. What do you think specifically is going to help a guy like me? And I said, nothing.
Pick up the phone.
Right. What does that mean, though? I mean, what does that mean? Because even that's pretty vague. So, but let's drill it down. Pick up the phone, because get on Mojo Dialer, learn how to work.
Yeah, that was a huge help. But if you couldn't afford that, I would 100% recommend Zillow for sale by owners, because it's free. You don't have to leave anywhere. You can do that from your home while you're broke and not getting any business. You can borrow people's signs. You can literally borrow everybody's everything, and even give somebody like, oh, I landed this listing, but I don't have a sign. So, hey, partner with me. I'll give you part of my commission for that. I'd hustle my way through that all day. That's what I should have done to begin with. And then door knock. If you can find the absorption rate, ask somebody how to figure that out. But find a good community that has high turnover, and then farm that area, door knock and stuff like that, because that's free. Or just do it around your neighborhood. Because people actually know you there. You can door knock and try and do that stuff, because both of those are free and they're fairly easy. You can spend your time doing that.
I'm thinking open house
until you build things.
Yeah,
outside of open houses.
To me, you got it kind of convoluted there, because you're like, go door knocking and farm. Those are two distinctly different things. And so I don't want to confuse anyone. However, if you're going to pick a farm, basically you can pick a neighborhood you like, find the absorption rate of how many homes sell in that neighborhood. Anything that's over like 6 to 8% homes that sell in that area, let's call it your farm. Sell in that farm. So if you have 400 homes, and then you can find, if you had 10% of those, that would be 40 homes a year, right? And so then you thumb through all those in the MLS that have sold, and you look at all 40 homes, and you see if anyone is a specialist in the area. Has anybody sold more than 3 homes in the neighborhood, right? So I know that we have some neighborhoods here where you can click down, and there'll be 22 homes for sale, that have sold in a year, and you can click back, and 15 of them were sold by the same realtor that's been selling real estate in that neighborhood for 25 years. Yeah. Right. So that'd be a pretty tough farm to try to break into when that realtor also controls the newsletter for the neighborhood. Yeah. Is the president of the HOA in the neighborhood. You know, and I mean, he's been the president of the HOA for like 15 years running. Right. Yeah. And so no one's bumped him off the block. So I wouldn't go into that neighborhood. Yeah.
You know what? You mentioned this, and I had a conversation with somebody else that lined up with the exact same kind of conversation, where people's perception of who owns a farm or an area may not actually be true, because you see like, oh, they sell a lot, or someone will be like, oh, yeah, it's their farm. They work a ton in that area. They're like, oh, all right, cool. Well, let's look up the numbers. You look up the numbers, and they don't even hold majority of the sales in that area. So while some people might say something, look up the numbers and actually, or ask somebody for help to look up the numbers to really, validate that. Because you might find a place that an agent lives, they've been there in the business for years, but they don't have market share of it.
Here's an offer. If you give me a call at 512, actually text me, 512-773-6461. That's my cell phone. And you need help figuring out that absorption rate in your MLS, and you use really the same type of MLS we do. I think they're all by the same.
I think a bunch of them are.
Whatever that system's called. But if you use that same one, I'll be able to walk you through it and really kind of show you how to choose that quote unquote farm that you can start working and get to door knock. And then so we've got a pretty specific plan for farming the area, and a lot of it starts with a postcard. And so you're going to need some money there. Yeah. However, you don't need to start that way, but as soon as you do, like I said, I'm not a big fan of starting your career off trying to take territory in a farm. No. It just makes no sense to me. And people can certainly email me at info@realestateontherocks, or text me. I'll just give you my number and tell me the reasons why you think I'm wrong about that. However, if you don't have a lot of capital, it takes about, some capital in about 18 months to start seeing a return out of that, and so that's really important. However, you can definitely start taking territory in there by making making yourself, present in the neighborhood, especially omnipresent, where you can go out, you can work open houses in the neighborhood. Yep, you can partner with some sort of home warranty company that will do a door hanger for you, pretty much free of charge. They'll pay for everything. They just have to co-brand it with you. You'll be on the front of the card. They'll be on the back of the card. You go out, you invest in that. And you invest the time into taking that out and going door to door to door, and then door knocking, and then have something of value when you go out to door knock. Don't just door knock to introduce yourself and say you're a realtor. Try to take something in the area. Try to know something about the area. Try to know a home probably that just closed in the area. As a sold, you can use, basically broker reciprocity and say, hey, did you hear about the home we just sold down on 123 Main Street? It sold for top dollar. When's the last time you thought about selling, or do you think about selling in the future, or whatever else? And then boom, nope, door closed, on to the next one, and use the same. That's a script. Use it every time after time after time. Marshall, what's up?
If you're gonna go door knocking, just here's a little tip for you. If you're trying to think of something of value that you can bring to the people, buy a bunch of those mosquito dunks on Amazon online somewhere. You can get them very cheaply, and you put them in little plastic envelope baggies. And you can go around and knock on the door and just tell them, hey, I'm a realtor, and I have this little thing, I have this handout for you, and you can put it in your backyard. It helps get rid of mosquitoes, and it only works if all your neighbors are doing it. And so you can you have something of value to give them.
Yeah,
and it's inexpensive.
One of my friends in downtown Georgetown. Georgetown's known for their red poppies that grow throughout the whole downtown that are really, spectacular looking, in the spring when they bloom. She goes around, she buys red poppy seeds, and she staples her card to it and just walks around. And if they're not home, she just jams them in the door wedge. And that's an old neighborhood that still has like the mail where you can flip it up. And
when you drive by there and you see all those red poppies everywhere, it looks really pretty.
Yeah, it does. And so, she does that. And just there's all kinds of ways to get creative. And once again, we live in the information age. You can Google creative things to do to, farm a real estate area. And there's plenty of articles out there about it to give you the ideas, or you can always contact us.
Episode 23 and 24, Steve Full came and talked about his door knocking techniques, which are killer. I mean, I wish I would have heard that episode back when I first started, because I would have been so much better at door knocking.
And procrastinating.
Yeah, I got to pick back up on the door knocking.
Yeah,
now the weather's getting better.
Door knocking's not for everyone, and that's the thing is I'm not a fan of it. If you're going to make door knocking your number one thing, then make it your number one thing. If you're just going to do it part time, there's better things for you to do. You need to really drill it down. Drill it down to
around the listings and open houses. I got to get better at that. I do it sporadically, not as consistent as I've done. Yeah, it's been sporadic. Like sometimes I'll do it consistently and then I fall off.
Yeah, you want to. I mean, if you've got a couple bucks in the bank and you want to really take territory in the neighborhood, this is how I would suggest to do it. Once you get a listing, and it's coming soon, I would send out a card a postcard to the surrounding 200 homes and say coming soon, and then have your face branded. Use everything of your branding all over it, right? And then as soon as it lists, I would do a postcard again that says just listed, and I would send it out again. Whether it's 7 days later or not, you do a just listed card, right? And as soon as that house goes under contract, you send out another postcard that says under contract, right? And so, boom. And as soon as it sells, what are you going to do? You're going to send out another card, right? Yeah. And so within that time of the really the just listed, that's when you can go out and say, hey, look, we just listed this house down on 123 Main Street. We're giving you a chance to pick your neighbors. Yeah. Do you know anybody from work or church or anywhere like that that's moving to town? And no, I don't. And so if they say yes, it's like, great. Can I have their number?
Mm-hmm. And I usually laugh when I say that. The opportunity to pick your neighbor.
Yeah, no, it's a great little icebreaker. I do that too, and so I just make sure to deliver it right. And there's some people that are super analytical and look at me when I say that, like, what do you mean, pick my neighbor? Never mind.
Would you be my neighbor?
So anyway, those are some really good tips there. So
yeah, the icebreaker on the phone works good too. If you can get the list of expireds, those are good to hit. And for sale by owners, which are obviously their own animal. And then our friend in New York was having some great success with videos. Instead of just calling everybody, doing the same thing every single other agent does, he's shooting a cool video, introducing himself, giving a quick little tip, and then ending the call. Not trying to, be like everybody else, and he's getting calls. It's actually working for him.
And there's another one right there. So that was a great point, James. Yeah. But moving forward, you just need to come up with ways to get in front of more people to show them your value and how you can help them. Yeah. And a big one that I've been doing lately is video texts. We talk about this all the time. We've implemented it with a few of our friends out there that have contacted us and talked to us about it and kind of coach them on what to say. And it's sometimes can be super overwhelming to send somebody a text that doesn't know you, but now they do. That's the thing. Yeah. Now it's that instant rapport that you have. They know what you look like. They know really kind of how you talk. There's no mystery behind it on the phone. A lead came in, and I did call them. And nobody really is picking up their phone these days. You do have to try. That's not an excuse. That is like a blanket thing that like, oh, they're not going to pick up their phone anyway. Nobody wants to talk on the phone.
People are still picking up their phone as much as I.
Yeah, not nobody's picking up their phone. That's another cop out excuse of why you're not calling and you want to text. Yeah. Okay, so if you're going to text, step your game up and send a video text. Yeah. And talk about exactly why they maybe called you, or talk about, we get a lot of leads in a lot of the properties that we list. And one of the first things I do is I've kind of stopped calling and I've stopped using text, and I just use the video text. And I just say, hey, look, that property's still available on 123 Main Street. Let me know how I can help you if I don't hear from you. They obviously have my number. I just text them. I don't need to give my number, And so if I don't hear from you by 5 o'clock today, I'll give you another shout in the morning. And I set up the next point of contact already. I never wait around. Whenever you tell somebody, hey, my number is 512-773-6461. Give me a call back, when you're ready to sell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no one's going to call you.
I'm really working on getting out of that habit of doing that. I say that. I know. I say that of like, hey, when you get a free chance, give me a call. I've said that so much that it's really challenging to break that habit of ending that.
Yep, until you break the habit, you won't see. And so one thing that I was talking to Ryan up in New York about was that fact that don't sit there and say like, hey, here's my number, give me a call if you need anything.
Yeah.
They're never going to need anything from you.
Yeah.
Take a step back and say, hey, look, I'm going to give you a call in a few, let your for sale by owner roll for a couple of days. I'm going to give you a call in about 2 or 3 days, check in with you, see how things are going.
Yeah.
Leave it at that, right? And then when you call in 3 days, one, you just validated that you said you were going to do something and you did it. You called them back, right? That's more than most realtors do in the first place, is call them back.
Yeah.
And then you, if you were coming from contribution, which I knew Ryan was, he was talking about, most people that are going to call you on this for sale by owner are other agents, right?
Yeah.
So he brings that up and say, was I right about the agents? Man, you were totally right about these agents calling me, and so boom, just once again validated him again, and now who looks like a professional, right?
Yep.
So he did what he said he was going to do, and he validated what he said was going to happen. So.
Yeah.
And he's having success with it. He sent
Yep.
me a text, and there was something else in there about an open house, and he followed up with video, and he got a great response. And I
Nice.
mean, that three of our listings this year came off of text responses. To where
Yeah.
I beat people to the punch, and he said, "Hey, I have the one guy with the small little 11-acre ranch. He told me right off the bat, he's like, dude, 50 realtors call me. You're the only one that sent me a text. You're the only one I called back out of all 50." And I'm the only one he listed with.
It's powerful.
Yeah, so it's good stuff, and it works. It just, people have to get out of their comfort zone and do the things they don't want to do when they don't want to do them.
They're going to see you eventually.
Right. That's what I don't get. It's like, why hide behind your phone? They're going to see you eventually. I mean, that's like James hiding behind his Facebook. He just,
Open it up.
I had a lot of personal stuff to get to.
we
wall
get
up.
it. We just like to give you crap about it,
know.
man.
But yeah, no, it's definitely made a difference. And a funny thing, the question I've heard a lot is asking like, "Oh, what app do you use? What do you use to do that?" And I think you've done it a couple
So
times.
that's not
I've
like
seen
funny,
a couple
haha,
other
but
ones.
that's like funny, ironic.
Yeah, and they like turn their phone around and like the video on your phone, no app. Just click on the video. You're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
wants this complex, like over the top thing that's just gonna magically make it easier. I mean, you can use BombBomb, you can use a bunch of other stuff.
Dude,
Just record on your phone.
We've gone through all the magic buttons, and all
Yeah.
the magic buttons are all the practical buttons, really. It's all the things that work people don't want to do.
Yeah.
That's the magic. The mundane is the magic in this business. It's the mundane of the follow-up. It's the everything that we do that's profitable is not sexy. There's nothing sexy about this job.
Yeah.
There's nothing sexy about this career. There's nothing sexy about it if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
If you're profitable and scalable and you're running a great business, it's not really as sexy as everybody's is HGTV's making it look.
Yeah.
And so this is what people don't realize, and I believe once they realize it, that's what accounts for part of the half of the 87% fail out rate is that
Yeah.
oh my God, this thing actually does take work.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a job, but it does take work,
Yeah.
and it's simple as anything to be successful and to be profitable. It's simple. It's just not easy.
Yeah.
And so you have to buckle down and do the things you don't want to do, which I mentioned before, is like, what does that look like? It is the door knocking. It is the open houses on a Saturday when everybody else is at the lake. It is the open houses when everybody's at game day. When University of Texas is playing. Hook 'em.
Yeah.
And so, and so, it just kind of it's not fun. However, it can be fun, and what's more fun, the most fun about it is the vacation time, the profit. Having money to be able to afford to go to dinner with your family, having, being able to drive a decent car and have a nice house and possibly purchase investment property.
Yeah.
Those are the sexy parts of this business.
Yep.
It's not the sharp blue suits with the wingtips and the skinny ties and that's how some people operate. That's completely fine, but that's not what it needs to be successful. You can be successful in a pair of wind shorts. They still wear wind shorts. Anybody still wear wind shorts?
I was gonna say you're like blue suit and wingtips. I was like, oh, I had that.
Yeah, that's how James dresses. Real sharp. However, it just you don't need to fit into a mold. You can just do the things and make yourself valuable to your sphere, to your audience, and things will start to pop for you. It's constant follow-up. I mean, why do you think like CRM names or things like, Follow-Up Boss and Constant Contact and, it just like they're named after all the things that you have to do because,
I thought you were gonna say all the things you're not doing.
well, there's that. But I can honestly say that the majority of the business, 87% fail out rate, right? So you can't tell me everybody listening to us is of the 13%, that make it.
Yeah.
Our show's not really geared towards the 13% that make it. It's geared towards the 87% that are having a little bit tougher time getting their business off the ground.
Yeah.
And we genuinely care.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do. I had a rough first year, man. $4,800, $4,853 or whatever it was.
I care because I've been there.
Yeah, we all been there. James is still there.
Powering through.
Yeah, I'm just rousing James as much as I can today.
We're gonna lose another episode.
Yeah.
No, we'll save this one.
Is that what it is? That he lost the last one because we poked
Screw
at
you,
him too
man.
much? Yeah. Call me a little dicky again.
Horrible.
Anyway, all right. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up and get the heck out of here for today. Happy Monday to you. I hope you have a great day. Have a great week. Remember to do the things you don't want to do when you don't want to do them. If you need us at all, you can reach us at Top Shelf. You text Top Shelf. One of these days I'm going to get that
One
down.
day.
Top Shelf to 88000. So do that, and then we'll reach back out to you. I've already given you my cell phone. If you didn't hear it, rewind the episode and go back and listen to it again. If you would, please go ahead and smash that 5-star button on all the podcast players. We need as many good reviews as possible. And to keep this whole show going here, it would be much appreciated. And we want to thank Mike Harrell with Guaranteed Rate. Mike Harrell can be reached at info@realestateontherocks.com. If you need anything, you know where to find us. And I'm gone.
I'm out.